Hello and good evening. How are you? Are you okay?
Evening.
Evening.
Thank you, Craig, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we're having some technical issues with David, so hopefully we will be able to bring him on during the live, or I'll bring him on another time. We'll just have to do a bit of like swapping about. What we're going to do, we'll just wait for a few people to come on. I'm just going to share this live out a few more places, and we'll get cracking.
Actually, I'll just check my page.
Right. Well, I've sent it out to three places. We're still getting a few watches. So what have you been up to recently, Craig?
Well, David and I right now have been pretty much involved exclusively in marketing our films that are out there. There are a couple of projects that we're looking at for next year. Nothing is definite as of right now. We just wrapped a couple of films last year that we thankfully have gotten released that are out there. So for us right now, it'd be kind of between projects and seeing, what we want to do next for next year.
Cool. I saw the other night that you was talking about something about doing like a comedy sketch, maybe, but it was on the road to Discovery.
Well, yeah, our film that is released and out there, and you can find it free on YouTube. Actually, all of our films, if you just type in and search their name, they all appear on YouTube free with ads, which is great as far as a worldwide basis, because some of the links are going to be specific to certain regions, like Tubi TV. Unfortunately, it's good in Canada, the States, Australia, and New Zealand, but it's not good in the UK. But YouTube gets us, certainly worldwide. And the film that we shot will be coming up to like a year and a half ago. Love in Quarantine, was right. And so this fifth of just two people have married a long time, and now you're thrust into quarantine, and you start getting on your nerves. But
real married life.
Yeah, right. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
so that would be the one. And the next project, I don't know if it would be going down the comedy highway. So we'll see.
That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool.
If you're quite popular.
Sorry. You know how Demon Fighter and Evil Down the Street are inspired by true events, yeah?
Right.
Do you ever keep in touch with the people that have inspired these events, or?
Well, Demon Fighter, no, because that's historical, and they would be dead, if you will. So from that standpoint, right? That was a few hundred years ago that we brought more into modern time. But the Evil Down the Street, yes, because that was a family long before becoming a filmmaker that I was personal friends with. So in that regard, yes, to answer your question, Wendy.
I did wonder that, because I was when I after watching it, and I thought to myself, you always get these films, that are based on true stories. Usually with a trailer it says like inspired by.
Right.
They're not usually inspired by or like based on a true story. Not very close. But I did notice, doing a lot of reading and research, that the story behind The Evil Down the Street seemed to follow. You really, really wanted to follow it as close as you could. So, because like I read a lot of reviews and stuff, and it got some the usual thing. You get mixed reviews. Some people saying it's not like scary enough and stuff. But then when you're portraying a real story, you can only go so far before somebody goes, yeah, well, that's totally not realistic, and you've kind of blown the realism out of the water. So you've taken away from the claim that you made it was real. If that makes sense.
Well, you're exactly right, Bob, because, back in the day with this family, what always struck me that they were just a normal family. There was nothing unusual about them. And I thought this would really make for a good story to be told, because if there's one, there's going to be more. And they lived in a nice area, and I mean, their home was like everybody else. And what always struck me is you don't always know what is going on inside of somebody's house. And in their case, they had just a hot mess. And then later in life, becoming a filmmaker, I thought, well, that's a film that David and I, it certainly would be worth us making.
Yeah, good, because it does, in a lot of ways, mirror a lot of stories that you read about, in the paranormal world and this, that, and the other. And so when you see it, it's that more grounded was the word I was trying to think of. I wrote it down. Right. So I'm really good when we get to these, forgetting the word I'm looking for. But grounded, it seems much more grounded, which makes it more realistic, which personally I found a bit more kind of enthralling, because they all felt real. Everybody felt real.
And there are some really bad hauntings out there with the Ouija board, especially.
Yeah, worst thing to mess about with in the world.
It's like we talk about the evil down the street. It's like what happened within that movie. I was sat there with my wife. And my wife jumped a few times. I'm like, Emma, this is actually how it happens. This is how it can happen. And I've said in many lives before how my addiction to the Ouija board happened, and like what happened. Yeah, so I sort of personally related to it, and that's what I found like really, really cool about, because there was times when I was like sneaking to do the Ouija board and stuff like that, and because I used to live with a vicar at the time, and so the vicar was totally against doing anything like working with the spirits. So working on the Ouija board or anything like that, he wouldn't have me doing paranormal or anything like that, because it wasn't his thing. Because he was a full-blown Christian, because he was a trained pastor at the time.
Wow.
And it's like I sort of personally related to it, and that's what I found like very interesting about Evil Down the Street. Obviously, I didn't do some of the stuff towards the end of the movie, but yeah, it's just how like you don't realise how your personality changes, and there's people around you that's noticing it, but you don't. You're just thinking that you're not.
Well, and that's how this story was, that it developed over time. And, when David and I met, this is now a number of years ago, is I had the rough script, and the key word there is rough, for Evil Down the Street. And David's background, and I'll share this, he's a graduate of UCLA School of Drama and also an attorney. So when we first met, I thought, wow, what's the likelihood of an attorney also being a graduate of UCLA School of Drama here in Los Angeles? And so I sent David my script just to get his feedback and everything. And he made a ton of edits. I mean, he did a great job going through the script. And ultimately, we co-wrote it together. And with his background, David directed the film. And also he played the priest in the film. So he was extremely, it worked out so cool, Martin, because I first met David as an attorney. And we were talking about this film project. He was introduced to me by a mutual friend of both of ours, and this friend his name is Todd Chase. And for about a year, he kept asking us to connect with each other. Well, we finally did. And then when I found out David's background, he's an acting coach. He's directed plays. He's written screenplays. I thought, oh my gosh. So he went through Evil Down the Street, and like I said, made just a ton of edits, and now we have something that would make sense to shoot. And like with some people that have seen the film, wanted to be more sensational, let's say from the standpoint of like The Exorcist, but this story wasn't. Now I had another person who was involved with the script early on. And that person had added some things that were over the top. And David took all of that out. He said, the story itself is horrific enough. You don't need anything gimmicky or anything that would be outlandish, because that's just not this story. And right. And so that's a little bit of the backstory of how all of this came together. And we shot it. It'll be coming up to 4 years this coming year.
That's cool. So when did you release? Like, when did you decide that you were going to release the Evil Down the Street? Because like 4 years in making, sort of thing, is that?
Yeah. Well, we shot it in 2018, March of 2018, and we finished post-production the first part of 2019. And we were very fortunate that we had 9 offers for our film from different distributors. And we selected the distributor that has actually had all of our films indie rights. And so Evil Down the Street got released May of 2019. So it's what is that now? Let's say 2.5, 3 years ago now. And so it came out that summer of 2019. And, we've been very blessed that film has been received very well. From the standpoint, we've had just a lot of viewership on that film. So we feel very, very fortunate that story getting out there. What we like are the people that will reach out to us personally and say they can relate to the film because, they've had similar type of situations. And this family, they never wanted notoriety. I mean, they never put it in the press. Just kind of stayed within the family. And that's what always struck me, that, they were not looking for, let's say, any fame or fortune. And thankfully, they allowed us to tell their story.
Yeah, that kind of story, in reality, is only ever I don't know about over there, but in the UK, it's only ever used as either a fluff piece for a newspaper or a bit of sensationalism where, somebody's decided they're bored, they can't think of anything else, the news is slow, so let's find a piece about the paranormal and just sort of like totally ruin it because they always turn it rubbish and this, that, and the other, which is unfortunate. Instead of taking it a bit more serious, it's like they're a bit scared to. So it is nice when somebody, obviously you've got other films that, like you said, with The Exorcist, and obviously the Conjuring series is really popular now. But it's nice to see stuff more grounded and more realistic. There's loads of films I've watched that are dead. There's nothing to them. They're dead, maybe not even supernatural or paranormal, whatever. And they're just character driven. And they're so interesting because you can kind of, on some of the things when you watch them, like you think, when you see bits of your own life or stuff, even if it's not like, strictly about sort of like anything based around your life, it makes it more interesting. And you connect with people, I always think, better as well, because you think, wow, in the case of the Evil Down the Street, this literally that could be your next door neighbour. So it makes it much more interesting, much more believable, I think.
I agree with you, Bob.
Yeah.
Have you ever had any experiences within the paranormal field which you would ever think about releasing a movie about? Emma Sanderson just asked them, do you think you would ever release a movie on your own life?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, when we shot this film, the basement scene was in Banning, California, which was about 100 miles northeast of the set house. And we had a number of occurrences there. David tells the story better than myself, but we were all in this different location. This was a boys' reformatory school that was been vacated for years and years and years. And we were on one side of the compound. And David, in the film where the priest has his office, David was there getting the crosses put on his back and everything with our makeup artist. And they started hearing doors rattling and such in that part of the complex. So much so that the makeup artist has never worked with us again. She did not want to. it just really creeped her out. And we were concerned with this film because this was either day 1 or day 2. We thought, oh my gosh, if she walks off the set, we're in a world of hurt. And so, David went and assured her, like, he walked over in the area and was checking all the doors and came back. He says, no, there's nothing there. And it started up all over again. And so David got on.
Even more.
Yeah, I know. He angered them, Bob. And so David came back on the walkie-talkie and said, hey, how much longer before all of you guys get over here? And the rest of us, came over, and she kind of like simmered down a little bit. And when I went with another part of our team to do scouting of this location, we always take video of any place we're considering as far as shooting a film. And in the basement, I shot the film, I sent it to David, and make a long story short, as we're both going through it, and there was no lighting within the room, if you will, but we had orbs in the basement. Now, people can say all they want about it, be it light flares or anything along those lines, but we do this all the time, and we've never had anything like this have happened prior to nor since. So we've had just a number of unique occurrences along those lines. And you're talking about, let's on a personal level, like you had mentioned, Martin, about the Ouija board. When I was younger, certainly had a number of alarming occurrences with the Ouija board. So, and also David, he had moved into a house in I think it was the San Jose area. David lives in Northern California. I live in Southern California. And he and his wife and family certainly had occurrences there. So, could we put something together along those lines? Yeah, I mean, we certainly could. I mean, we're not two filmmakers that say, oh, no, we just make movies. We've never had any personal experiences. Collectively together, we certainly have had our share of, besides being old, I guess the older you are, the more experiences you have. But we've certainly both have had our share of experiences.
Has that sort of thing inspired you then with I was going to ask this actually, as it, as stuff like this, if you had anything in your past, has it inspired you or in any way when you're making films in this genre, have you thought back and thought, wow, actually, I could use that because I would, if it's something that you're doing that's not meant to be based on reality, I would alter it because of something that you've come across in your own sort of, your own inspiration. But I suppose technically screenwriting and everything else, directing and stuff, that's what you do anyway. Right.
Well, David is an exceptional writer, and David writes and directs our film. I'm more on the producing and business side of what we do. And so to your point, Bob, David really tries to adhere to the realism of what is going on without gimmicky things where somebody would come back and say, oh, that's so fantastical, that would never happen. And so we try to have, through David's writings, our characters that would have depth, personality, and something that hopefully some of our audience members can relate to.
Yeah.
So can I ask just a quick question?
Of course.
What did you do with the Ouija board after you'd finished filming?
Yeah, well, that board was a prop and it belonged to somebody else. So as soon as we were done with that scene, on day 2 or day 3, out it went. So, where it went after that, Wendy, I don't know, but it's certainly not here in my house. I can guarantee you that.
Hiding in the back of your car.
I've got one in I've got 2 in my house actually, and I've never used. Well, I've used one, but not the other one.
Yeah, I really think that our prop master, David King, who did a great job, and David just had all sorts of interesting things. It's like going up, his place reminded me of like you go up into your grandmother's attic and it's like all of these cool things that are weird, kind of creepy, and you don't want to be there after sundown. And David had just a bunch of stuff, and I believe this belonged to him because I was never sure how it got there. I'm not really sure who took it but I know it's after we were done shooting out there, we out it went.
Yeah, I've known quite a few hauntings that deal with just the Ouija board itself.
Sure.
Is sort of like the horror and the supernatural sort of genre your favourite kind of genre, or is it just that when you're looking at different things to work on, they just seem to be, then ones seem to stick out, or you get a feel for them quicker, depending on, because obviously most people think, oh, right, you get an idea for a film, off you go, write it and everything else. But that's not true, is it? You've usually got loads of stuff going on in the bank, and something usually comes out. When I've read about other, people doing stuff in films and things, is that true? Do you sort of, or you've got?
Yeah, and to that point, and Tina, you're asking about David. He's having technical difficulties getting in here, so I'm trying to hold down the fort in the meantime. So hopefully he's able to get in here.
Hello.
There he is.
Hello. Hello.
I feel like I just went to the dentist and I need a lollipop. I'm telling you, that was a nightmare what I just went through. My whole computer shut down, reconfigured. I had to prove I was who I was, which I don't even know if I'm sure about that. I'm like, what the hell? But guess what? I can see y'all. Hi.
We're just having
Craig's been hanging it out on his own.
Brother, I'm really glad to see you. I've been trying to hold the fort down.
Telling you, what a nightmare.
Just ask about you, and then funny enough, you came on at the exact same minute.
What time in that? Yeah.
That's real simple. I'm a frustrated old man, and I work with Craig.
Before we move on, and now we've got David, and we can ask him a lot of questions. I want to ask Craig a question, if that's all right. What was it like to meet James Garner?
James Garner?
Yeah, what was it like to meet James Garner? Great actor.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised that you know that story. This was, oh my gosh.
I get to know a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. But this goes back to 1984, around there.
Yeah.
And I was in mortgage banking then. And one of our loan officers, his mother-in-law owned a beautiful home in Pasadena, and they would rent the house out as a set house. And I think the series is like one of those mini 3-day episode series. I think it's called Space. Anyhow, long story short, I was sitting there with 2 other friends of mine. They were loan officers, and we're having lunch. And James Gardner just came over to us and said, "Do you mind if I join you guys?" Wow. We said, "No, please do." And he was so incredibly nice, Bob, very gracious. Yeah. He asked us all kinds of questions about lending, never made it about himself. And after lunch, it was probably maybe 30 minutes, somebody came and got him, getting ready for his next scene. But he was just an incredibly nice, gracious man. And my mom, that was always her hero. She loved James Gardner.
Yeah,
and she was just over the moon, pleased to hear that in real life. He was just a class act gentleman. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice when you hear that. And then I just read it as I was researching, and I thought, oh wow, that's amazing. Especially when, rather than you going over to that person, whether it's famous, them coming to you and just, because they're just real, like you guys, they're just real people. And even though you're not behind the scenes, but you're actually in front of the camera as well as actors. Yeah, it's nice to get to know, to know that these people are real, and it was just something that caught me. And when I was growing up, some of the stuff, it was in some great stuff, TV shows and films, and I just thought, wow, that's amazing. And I wanted to ask you, what was it really, was kind of unique or an odd experience? But yeah, thank you for sharing that.
David, you okay, buddy?
I'll probably get the idea. No, I'm sitting here and all of a sudden it just freezes. Then all of your squares go black.
Do you know, before David came on, we was on about the Ouija board. I actually think I know where it is. And you want to check under your seat, David? It might be there.
Wow.
Craig's Craig's been filling this in with like a lot of work that you've been doing, and that you do like the script writing and stuff like that, which I found really interesting. And when he has it froze again.
I think he might have done. Yeah, because
Yeah, I think it's frozen.
Oh,
he's still playing up. Because Emma had asked a good question, and I was going to say it was probably
Doing nothing.
There he is again.
I for some reason it just keeps losing the connection.
Like he's driving through a tunnel.
Emma's got a question.
I think it doesn't like me, and I'm getting my feelings hurt.
Have you ever been filming and changed a scene at the last minute? If so, how easy was it?
I have no idea what it is. I'm not a computer guy. I have no idea. I never taken a computer class in my life. I taught myself how to open them and do all that stuff, which obviously didn't work too well. But no, I have no idea what's going on, and I will try to stay present. However, if you lose me, think of it as the spirits.
yeah.
We go back to your movies.
More the question for David that was. Did you get it capped out, David?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever been filming and changed a scene at the last minute? If so, how easy was it?
It was a nightmare when you're working with somebody who can't remember their lines or their blocking, and you're in the scene with them, and you're the director. And I'm sitting there, and unfortunately, I'm one of those elephants with a memory. I know all your lines, my lines, etc. And so I knew the camera was shooting me from my mid-chest up. So down below, I'm directing, telling this actor, go that way, go that way. And I'm hoping they're paying attention to that at least. And then when I realized that person's not going to remember what they're doing, I improvised and just did something totally unexpected to the actor, which shook that person up pretty good. And we went from there.
It's a good question, actually, because it's okay. I'm going to say it must be okay sitting, because I'm sitting there. I think I understand it kind of similar because I don't do anything with it, but I like writing music. And it's okay writing something, whether it's music or script. But do you ever feel like you've got it in your head, but then when you actually go to film it, you think that does not sound right? As it did in my head when you did it, and so you have to change a bit of script or something because it just doesn't feel real, or maybe does somebody improvise it slightly different and you think, wow, you've just done that better than me and I'm just leaving it in?
No. Like I said, my memory is pretty much like an elephant, and I will always allow the actors, because they know their stuff already, and I never like to tell an actor right off the top, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to walk there, you're going to wink your eye. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Instead, I say, okay, you know the scene, let's see what you got.
Yeah.
And then they do their thing, and then I adjust it. But when I adjust it, I don't just go up to them and say, okay, no, I want you to do it this way. I don't do that.
No.
I'll ask them some questions relative to the character, why the character is saying or doing what they're doing. So then it becomes theirs. I make them think out the logical resolution. And generally they get it right away, and they'll go, okay, now I see it. Okay, great, let's do it again. It's better that way because it's respectful to the actors, and actors to me are people.
Yeah.
Just like the technicians and the writers and everybody else.
Seems much more organic.
It's like if you.
I've worked with actors who knew it right from the beginning, who knew where it was coming from. And all I had to say was, all right, you know what's going on here. You know the motivations. You know what's happening. You know the actions. And actions and motivations are two different things. And they'll say yes. And I say, okay, let's see what you got. When they do it, I say, that was it. Let's do it. Let's film it. Boom. And I like to use multiple cameras, get as many angles in at once. It expedites the shooting, and it saves the actor. because they don't have to constantly redo it and worry, did they do it the same way? You know, did they raise that eyebrow at the same time or put the hand to the face at the same time? This way, if I got, you know, my close-ups, my profiles, my long shots, whatever it is, all at once, they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, it's nice.
So
Make it so dead organic. I like that.
Go Monday.
Yeah,
How long would it take you to typically cast a film?
How long will it take to film a feature?
To cast a film.
Oh, to cast it. Oh, well, that depends on the quality of the actors that are submitting auditions. I don't really care about audition tapes. They should be good. Let's hope you worked on it and spent enough money and time doing something with it. And if it isn't, how dare you send it? But I will, if I like somebody off the top, then what I will do is I will give them the part, tell them, go ahead, let me see what you do with it. They come back, I like that, what they did, then I'll give it to them again. Only I will change everything in it. Their motivation, their backstory, their actions, and ask them to get it to me ASAP. And if they can, and they do, which most of them do, then I know I can direct them. And that's what's important. Can you work with each other? You know, it's not just me. Can the actor interpret what I'm thinking or what I'm, you know, trying to convey in the scene?
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for actors. I was trained as an actor and gravitated towards directing because it's just my natural thing. But I know how it is to work with a director who says, all right, hey, you come over here. First thing out of my mouth is, my name's David. They go, oh, okay, David. I said, great. And I go over there. And, you know, but I don't fight the director. If he says, all right, in this scene, I want you to walk over here and stick your finger in your nose. I said, okay. I walk over there and I stick my finger in my nose. Obviously, he has a reason for that because that's a pretty disgusting thing. And I won't fight that. And I won't argue with the director. He wants what he wants. He's paying me. I'm not paying him. And he's my employer for the moment. So if it turns out crap, then I get to say, you told me to do it.
Yeah, that's it. Somebody else is the boss and the buck stops with that.
I'm sorry to. I just want to say a few shout outs. It's nice for them to join us tonight. So I'd like to say, hello and welcome, Tina. Thank you for joining us, Gary. Kelly, thank you for coming on.
Tina, Emma, Kelly,
Who came on tonight. Thank you very much for coming on tonight and watching us. And we'll get back to it. We just had Tina just asked, what is your favourite movie that you both like made together or made individually?
That we made, or my favorite movie, period?
Both actually.
That'll answer Emma's question as well.
Yeah.
Well, probably one of my all-time favorite movies is The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Incredibly well-made movie.
Yeah.
Original. Just an incredible movie. And if you watch it now on the big screens that you have at home and the great sound, you'll be blown away about that film. It's just as relative today as it was when it was made. As to our favorite movies, I enjoyed Demon Fighter a lot, making it. It was challenging because I worked with the lead actor a lot. He was an action actor, not an actor. And so I spent a lot of time with him, giving him acting lessons to capture the emotional qualities of the character. And when I auditioned him, I put him through a bunch of rigor because I needed to make certain that he could do that.
Come on here. John.
I'm sorry, what did John say?
John said, hello, David and Craig. Taking a break from filming today and wanted to say hi.
Hey,
Hi, John.
We've got John coming on the LSS live chat very soon. We're just sorting out a date.
I'm still a little frazzled from all that technical stuff I had to do.
I must admit, I'm the same.
I was going to ask you a sort of a, obviously because all these films come from different places. You know, you've got all your big blockbusters and you saw your indie films and sort of all these dead simple found footage films and stuff. But how do you feel about, you know, this? Just only from watching, because obviously we only see it from the media, what we see from the media's point of view. But how do you feel about there's like a snobbery against these, you know, like Netflix and Amazon and other like Tubi, and I think I can't remember what it's called. It's called Shudder over here. They started making their own films and putting money into making films, and it's great because a lot of films that would never get made, I think personally, but there does seem to be a lot of snobbery against sort of these streaming platforms and other things making these films and things. How do you feel about it? Do you see it, or is it just not something that you ever think about?
We think about that a lot, huh, Craig? I mean, I myself understand why there's snobbery, because we're a competition.
Yeah.
For a heck of a lot cheaper, and we don't need to have some. We would love to at times with some of our films, A-listed actors, but you know, millions of dollars, and then what? You have Waterworld.
Yeah, but sometimes though, with them, I've got to admit, as a person who would pay to go to the cinema, though, I've watched films that millions and millions of dollars, and they're just rubbish. They're crap because
horrible.
All the production value in it with no heart, and even everybody picks on the superhero movies now, but they've still got heart, or else you don't do anything.
You're right. It's the same movie over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah,
same plot, same characters, different costumes.
Before you came on, I said to Craig about the whole the evil down the street, the way it felt more realistic, and it didn't need lots of fluff. It didn't need loads of special effects and this jump scares and everything else. It just needed to tell a true story about somebody that a lot of people actually know. So I get that and stuff, and I understand the snobbery and this, that, and other stuff. I just wondered how you guys felt about it, because obviously, right there in the industry, you still got to feel it when you're trying to subsidise or get funding after that. We're worth there funding for a film.
Well, thank you for that comment, because when we first started working, before we started working, when the script was originally developed, it had a lot of Hollywoodish type of FX work into it, you know, wall crawling into it. And Craig asked if I would read the script. I said, sure. Yeah. And he says, do you have any suggestions? I said, yeah, take all that crap out. Okay. We don't need none of that. If this is based on a real story, how horrendous is that? How would any one of you feel if you came downstairs and saw your mom doing a striptease in the corner to some imaginary person with music? I know me and my mom, I'd be scarred for life.
Definitely.
So would I.
It's like I said to Craig earlier, when we had technical issues. It's like there's so much that with my personal experiences within my own life, that I was able to associate with this movie. But it was just nice to see, you know what? It didn't just happen to me. It happened to somebody else as well. And they experienced like the same sort of thing. Obviously, I didn't do a striptease in front of anybody. But...
I'll make sure I'll ask Emma later on.
Well, that's the reason for Love and Quarantine. We wanted a script that, you know, could be relatable to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, you love each other. You love each other for 20-something years, and then you're forced to really love each other 24/7.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you start not liking each other a little bit. I never noticed that mark on your forehead before. It's bugging me. Next thing you know, you're in each other's throat, and you're starting to to dislike each other. So it's a romantic comedy of sorts, where it starts out, unlike most romantic comedies, start out this way, and they try to get the couple together via overcoming the obstacles. This starts out that way already, and then they grow apart, and then we bring them back. So the obvious theme, love is stronger than all these little petty differences that we have between each other.
Yeah.
But when we premiered that film, what made me feel good, and I think I can speak for Craig, is that the audience was saying, she's just like that. You're like that, not me.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm going to say it probably, I watched it. It kind of proves that we all love I've just got married a few weeks ago. We've been together a lot of years, and I mean, we love each other dearly, and this, that, and the other and stuff. And as my eldest daughter would say, we're like teenagers. I'm not sure how she figures that one out. But even my missus, and she's asleep. She'll be asleep by now, upstairs in bed. She would, if she was sat here now, she would say, you know, I love him, but I couldn't spend 24 hours a day locked up with him. And that's what that film proves. And I mean, yeah, it's just how it is, unfortunately.
Try it with 3 teenagers as well.
Say it again, Wendy.
Try doing that with 3 teenagers at the same time. You're locked into the house with them as well.
Yeah, I've had it with a couple, but luckily we weren't in lockdown with my job that I'm in. So
we love our family, but we also love them to leave, go to work, go to school, go play.
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
It's like it's like I've said many times. It's like when I go to work, it's my break.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Break.
Yeah.
8-month little baby, and she's full grown. She's like full. She's like possessed. I'm on about. She's bouncing. She's running up and down. I was laying on the sofa the other day. She runs up to me, slaps me in the face, and runs away. It's like, okay, when's that?
Yeah.
Is that okay? But at the same time, it's nice to have that break and then come back to the family. In if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, what a great analogy about life. You know, you love life, but then it slaps you in the face when you're not looking. You know, and you're going, "What was that?"
Yeah.
No,
I have been quite lucky because we've been a dad and a granddad. My parents, who are no longer with us, used to take my 2 eldest, and they used to go off and they'd go stay with them for the weekend, come back on a Sunday, and they'd be absolutely full of it because they'd done all sorts with them and filled them full of sugar. And I used to say to them when they were 14 and 15, wait till you grow up years later and let's see what happens when you've got kids. Flash forward, I'm a granddad, and like yesterday, you know, went to see them, fill them full of sugar, and then hand them back. There you go, they're all yours. That's the best part of being a granddad.
all sticky and wound up.
What
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, real life.
Have you ever been a bit jumpy while you've been making a movie? Because like Craig, I believe when he said earlier about like the haunted aspects when he was filming, and when he was filming, and then like, has it ever made you jump? Like, okay, shall we not do it here? Shall we relocate? Is it ever like gave you like a different sort of vibe for the movie, sort of thing? If you know what I mean?
When we were shooting Evil Down the Street, the basement scenes were all shot 100 miles away at an abandoned reform school up in the high desert. And there was an old house on premises that had the double basement that we used. But there was also this reform school that was an institution type environment. And we went down there, found a location to film Father Bob's office. I was Father Bob.
I want to say because you played really well. Your acting was really good.
Oh, there was some scary stuff happening down there. I mean, there was rattling of doors. Nobody was there. I wasn't freaked out at first. The makeup artist was. She was applying tattoos to my body. Oh, it was scary. It got scary. It was totally weird. Like they didn't want us there. We could feel the energy, and it comes out in the actors. There's no doubt about it. The environment is so a major factor on how you feel about the scene. That's why they have set dressers and location scouts, so that it gives the audience that same sense of energy. That was so important when we did Demon Fighter. We had somebody create an environment that looked like a prostitute junkie's environment. And right next door to that room was the rabbi's office that
Yeah.
was built out. So yeah, so you know, but the environment can create that, and that's so important. Remember, the most important thing for us is to entertain our audience.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
That's it, and hopefully to inform them on some type of social redeeming issue, and perhaps enlighten them relative to that. But if we don't, if they just get entertained, they got their bang for the buck, and we're good to go.
Oh.
Mhm.
Do you ever read reviews then at all, or is it just like, yeah, you don't critique my work because you can't do it yourself type thing, or do you ever, or does anybody ever bring a review to you and go, wow, have you seen this, in both negative and positive terms?
Oh heck yeah!
Yeah.
I never take it on the chin. Art is subjective. I
Yeah.
play music, I paint, I do other stuff, and some people will look at something I've done and go, "What's that?" I'm going, "Well, it's a chicken, can't you tell?" I mean, so, I don't take it on the chin. When I was younger, I did, because it was all about David's ego, and I think I'm really good, and then one day I said, "Oh my God, I have to get rid of that," and I just realized, you know, everybody's an artist. Everybody has art in them in some form, and it comes out in some form. So I don't take it that way. And here's something I learned about the movies as a kid. I went to the movies religiously. And sometimes I'd walk out of there and go, "Meh, I really didn't like that." Guess what? They got my money.
Yeah, that's
So
it.
they didn't care if I liked it or not. They got my money. So
Right.
that's an important consideration. You know, when you have, and I had a director tell me this, you got to have a lot of gall to ask the public to come and give up a couple hours of their life and pay you to do it, so that they can see your ego performed. Once I digested that, I realized what he was telling me. Have some respect for your audience. They don't like it, they don't like it.
Right.
If they love it, great. But I don't take it personal at all.
Good.
What about you, Craig? You've been quite quiet for a bit. What about you?
Well, no, it worked out well. I'm the happiest guy on the show when David showed up the second or third time. I'm just glad it worked out. He could stay. Well, David was a big help for me. You know, realizing I came into this business late in life as a mortgage banker, where David had degrees, been in the industry for 40 years. And like you go down the street, it for me is like I was a single dad for years, and I thought, and I still do, my kids are exceptional. And I felt that like with our films, like, you know, I love them all equally. And so if the reviews for people down the street were not good, then I had a real issue with it. It was David who educated me, saying, "Craig, art is subjective. Don't let it get to you." Now, it took me a while for it to not get to me, but eventually I came around. But early on, it was difficult. What do you mean that you didn't like it? You know, but yeah, David was a big help in getting me to adjust my thinking, and where art is subjective. But let's just say it didn't happen overnight.
It's a hard thing when someone knocks you, and you try your best for everyone, and they still come back with this review, and you're thinking, right. But I know where it comes from, because it is very hard to take a negative review. But I suppose you've just got to run with it.
Yeah.
Right.
A very famous theatrical director in the Hispanic community invited me to his private theater, his whole environment where he works, Teatro Campesino, and to see this brand new musical production that he put on. And it was beautiful. The acting was great. The sets were fantastic. And afterwards, he came up to me in front of everybody and he says, David, what do you think? And I told him what I just said. It was beautiful. The music, the acting, the sets. I loved the directing. No. What did you really think? And he pressed me. Finally, I told him, thematically, it's irrelevant. I don't understand why, you made it other than to entertain people. You know what he told me? Go do your own goddamn play.
Yeah.
That's what he told me. So a year later, I sent him tickets to my own goddamn play.
Yeah.
I figured, yeah, okay, I get it. But don't ask if you're not prepared for the answer.
That's right. Yeah, totally
And
agree.
here's the better idea.
Yeah.
Don't ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
Don't
plays
ask.
have you done in the past? What plays have you written and like done in the past?
Well, the first heavy duty one I wrote was called Painting. It was a 3-act, full length 3-act, and it got toured. It was about identity. Who are we? Who do you think you are? Who other people see you as, including your parents see you one way, your friends see you another way, your girlfriend or boyfriend see you a whole different way. Your employer sees you differently. Everybody sees you differently because you have different hats that you're wearing all the time in different environments. And I was very pleased with it, but it was a lot of work. And on the opening day, the guy that I cast as the lead, he's supposed to be a young man about 16, had a mustache. And I told him from the beginning he'd have to cut it off. And we're getting ready to open. I said, okay, you need to go get dressed, and shave your face, please. He goes, I'm not shaving. I said, no problem. You're not doing the part. I said, I know the part by heart. I said, and you're about my height and everything. I will put the costume on. You're out. He said, well, wait a minute. I go, there's nothing to wait. You either go shave and get ready to come on, or I'm going to do the role. Turned around, went, shaved up his face, put on the costume, came out, and he was good. He was good. But it's that kind of a thing, this is not a democracy on the stage. This is an autocracy. It's my way. It's my play. I'm the director. And in this case, I was the writer as well and co-producer. So it's going to be the way I want it, good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. I can take the blame for all of it, but it will be my way, period. But I am always open to suggestion. I will always ask people, hey, if you got an idea, stop me. Give me the idea. And sometimes they do it. It's better than what I'm doing. And I'll say, oh, I like that. Okay, let's do that. Let's incorporate that into it. But I'm certainly not going to let somebody bully me because of their ego. That's out the door. Yeah. And he would have been that quick out the door.
Right, see, it's like I'm small scale, I would say, compared to you, with like doing a power unity and breaching out quite wide. We have made a stable within the actual paranormal world, but it's like it's good to be able to take different people's point of views and ideas and say, you know what, yeah, I can incorporate. For example, Emma Sanderson, she said about doing something for like, because I found out being within the paranormal field, there's a lot of people that need help out there, like whether it's mental help or physical help. You just having that somebody to be able to lean on, to have that friend there for you. For example, we have like the 4 main rules: which support, encourage, and to be there for each other and that. So by incorporating the rules, we've like opened up a Facebook page which is called Help. And that's, and it's like with what you said, it's like somebody might have an idea and see how you can adapt it into what you're doing, you know what I mean? And it might be a better idea than what you've got in your own place.
And that's because it's about the project, it's about the play, it's about the film, it's not about me, it's not about the actors, etc. So I'm always open to that. The cinematographers I've worked with, I tell them what I'm looking for because they always know ahead of time. We do a lot of pre-planning on our films, shot list, etc. We're pretty intense about that. But still, it's not written in stone, and I tell them. So when you're there on set, you say, okay, you know where we're coming with that. If anything comes up you think might work better, let me know. Let's do it. And I've been fortunate, we have, Craig and I, to work with some very creative people who had great suggestions or would go out of their way to get the shot.
Right.
And I say, well, what about, can we do an overhead of some sort? Well, might be difficult. Give me a minute. Next thing you know, this guy's built this whole thing up on the ceiling with holding the camera with amazing stuff. And that is such a privilege to work with such creative people because they too realize it's the project. We want the project to be appreciated. It's not about one person in the project. everybody down to the caterers are equally important. And I
Yeah,
stress
that's nice. I like that. Yeah, it's true.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
so important.
I think sometimes I'm going to say actually, looking from the outside, looking into the media in general, unfortunately, we get these ideas about these egos and stuff, and a lot of times when you actually come across them or meet these people in real life, it's just not true as well. Which was one of the reasons I asked about the James Garner thing, because when I read it with Craig, it was so real, and like these nice guys. I always think back to a big worldwide renowned band called the Foo Fighters, and their lead singer and guitarist David Grohl is well known for being such the friendliest guy in like rock music, because he's never too big to actually talk to anybody, do stuff with anybody, have a laugh with people, and they just generally, everybody says he's a nice guy. And I always think that's better than some of the stories you hear, whether they're true or not, about some actors and some directors and things like that, where they are very unapproachable and things like that. I think I prefer the other one to the unapproachable and everything else. So it's nice to hear that, when people say, like David and Craig say, it's, come to me if you've got an idea, because it might be inspire me better, or, I might just say, no, my way, and that's it. But at least you're open and organic. I like that. It's nice, guys.
Yeah.
It's so true, though. I was on a movie of the week set that was pretty intense. It was shot out in Texas, out in the desert, and they had some pretty well-known A players throughout the entire thing. And the A players segregated themselves in their own private tents to eat and stuff, and didn't want to eat around the rest of the people, the rest of the actors. The B players, or even the walk-ons, the crowd scene people.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was rude.
Yeah.
They wouldn't talk to them, and if somebody came up to them, they would a little snappy. I'm busy right now. I can perhaps see me a little later. Whoa, very dismissive. And I'm like, you're only there because people put you there.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I believe that anybody, whether they're into movies like what you do, or whether they're into the paranormal and like do like the Power Unity side, like what I do, or if they even like just run a page or to do something like that, everybody's equal no matter what. The only difference is your title, movie producer, whatever it is, and the financial part. That's the only difference. But at the end of the day, when you take all that away, we're all human at the end of the day. I'm all equal.
Very true.
And I think the sooner that bullying in the workplace is wiped out, it'll be a lot happier place.
Oh,
that goes right through, whether you're working in film, whether you're doing your investigations, even in spiritualism, there's a lot of egos there, and it's very hard to get in to it, really.
Well, we're born with that ego, and we're taught to exercise and develop that ego. You are somebody. You're important. You count. You can do it. Don't let anybody tell you can't. You're as good as them. You're probably better. I mean, we massage it and massage it and massage it till pretty soon it's all about I, me. That's my problem with Facebook, and I love Facebook. It helps us tremendously. But sometimes you get tired of seeing these portraits of the same people. Look how beautiful I am. Look how handsome I am. I'm like, after a while, I don't want to see that anymore. Okay, I got it. You think you're pretty.
That's more TikTok over it.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Go on, Wendy.
No, do you use all these different platforms like TikTok and YouTube and all these kind of things?
I don't. Craig's probably better answer for that.
Yeah, our favorite platform really is Facebook, because it allows us to really communicate directly with people. TikTok, like what Bob said, it's a lot of look at me stuff or political, and to put to put movie content there. It makes me, on one level it makes sense, but you kind of play to crickets. And Instagram, I would say, is kind of similar. Twitter, I'm David and I are on the same page. I don't fundamentally get Twitter. I'll just, we're not really Twitter people. But I mean, and look, maybe it's an age thing. I don't know, but it's just not our thing. But certainly in Facebook, we're members in a number of groups, and we've met a lot of wonderful people. We have a tremendous loyal following for our films, and it seems like the Requiem that serves us best is where we can interact with people, not just putting something on Instagram and here's our trailer. It's just, I don't know, that just doesn't seem to play so well for us.
Yeah, what I like about how Craig works is he will respond to every single comment when somebody likes our film. We belong to over 1,000 groups.
Wow.
And we get a lot of comments. And so I will do that as well. I'll follow up with his comment because I'm so appreciative of any one individual who will give me 2 hours of their time. It's like, wow, amazing to me. So yeah, I appreciate anybody and everybody who watches, even if they don't like it. You don't have to like it, but if you've watched it, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I find it with YouTube that actually you could watch a lot of YouTube trying to settle down at night to go to sleep, especially ready for work and stuff. Sure. And so just flick through loads of different things. And do you know what? There is some absolutely amazing, just amateurs, not even the word for it, people who do their own designs, do their own sets and stuff. And they just do podcasts and things, but they're so professional. And I could just list them, and you know what I mean? I watch them and I'm thinking to myself, why, this person should be on telly. And then you think, yeah, they probably shouldn't actually, and they're in the right place. But yeah, for every, I couldn't say, I can't name somebody straight off the top that we'd all sort of know, being from different sort of continents. But you think to yourself, wow, there's just some of the talent that just never gets heard. But then, having said that, I had the chance to ask one person something like that once, and they said, I'm quite happy on YouTube doing what I do. I'm a plumber by day. I can't believe it. I'm a plumber by day, and I review horror films and stuff by night with a best friend, and he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant they are. So
very cool.
Everybody.
Yeah, I mean podcasts. I love them, and I've actually done one, and it's strange because the guy came in and got all his stuff out and things, and I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have to speak for an hour. Nightmare. But it went really quickly, and it was great to be able to. It was just like catching up with an old friend, like on here, but without the camera. Because when this first started, I was like a hair in the spotlights. I can't do this. I can't do it. I hated it, but I persevered.
Well, I can, Wendy, I can relate really well. I'm thinking, where's David? And I hope like any second, I'm good for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And that's really debatable. So when David showed up, I thought, all right. but yeah, I can only juggle so long before it's not good.
He does come across as the life and soul of the, well, I'll direct it, probably. You direct it, funny. Yeah, you do come across as the life and the soul of the party, actually, David. You've got you're a good double act because you've got his like Mark the Wise and stuff. You've got Craig's the sort of like the serious guy, and then you've got David he's always got an anecdote. And I've only known you for an hour, and I've got that already. I like the way you there's something about you that's always got an answer, and if you're not so sure, rather than fluffing it, you seem to know. I don't know the answer, and that's it. But I'm sure there's somebody who can give me it. That's how I get.
I was once told if you can't, dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit.
Yeah. I've heard that before. I just mind every
Just
day.
keep them laughing, and what the heck, right? I'm an adjunct professor at a couple of colleges in California, and I teach some pretty boring subjects sometimes, like contract law. And at 8 o'clock in the morning, is that a tough one to absorb?
Yeah.
So what I do is I tell my students to get up a little early, start watching cartoons. Watch whatever cartoon, and sometimes I'd give them a specific cartoon to watch so we can discuss it. And I start out light, and then I tell jokes relative to the subject matter. And I give them all the answers to everything, because I'm not playing hide and seek with information. It's not about can I be smarter than them. My job is to provide good, solid information that they can use for the exam to pass it. That's my job. So I'd say, now remember what old lady McGee said? They'd all start laughing, and they go, yeah, I got it. So humor, is such a teaching tool, because with your own children, if you do that, if you make up funny things along the way, they'll remember it better. Because they'll remember the joke.
Yeah.
So when I was at university, it would have been good to have something like that, because I did contract law, and I'm a BA business graduate.
Oh.
So it would have been.
I thought you said BS.
That to staying in mind would have worked out really, really well, especially with a lot of people that need that extra help. It's something that they can visualize, would have sunk in a lot better than actually just reading it out of a book. Mm-hmm. So
a lot of professors are into the culling process. I don't want all of you to pass. Somebody needs to throw the trash and flip the burgers, drive the taxi. So my job is to eliminate those who really don't have what it takes to pass these courses and to go on to your professional career. I never liked that. I always thought that was just a game that they were playing. But I'll give you an example. My first year of law school, there was 276 students. All these people had 3.5 or better grade point in undergraduate school, and they all took a law school exam to pass it. So they were capable of doing the work. After the first semester, we were down to about 230. After the second semester, we were down to 171.
Yeah.
The rigor was so intense, and the professors don't care. You don't get any quizzes. You don't get any types of pre-exams. You get one exam at the end, and it covers the whole year. Boom. So it's an intense environment, and I understand why they do it. Somebody's got to drive the taxi. Yeah. Somebody's got to go and do something else, and I get that. Yeah. But I've always felt as a teacher, my responsibility was to teach, to help them comprehend and understand the subject matter. And after a thorough explanation, you still don't get it, go get a taxi. At that point, there's nothing you can do. And don't cheat in my class. God forbid you should cheat. I will square you up right there in front of everybody and embarrass you and kick you out. I got no problem with that. I've had the dean called on me, and I said, bring him on down. He loves me already. So it's, everything else is fair, but cheating is not fair.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
It is what it is. It's cheating. So, I don't want to start bringing up Trump and stuff, so I'll leave it alone.
Last week, didn't we, actually? I wanted to ask you a question of the pair of you, actually, and it was, I've got a funny feeling after talking to you for an hour or so, I've got a funny feeling I've got an idea of what you're going to say, but within the realms of films, whether they're big, small, gigantic, epic blockbusters or whatever, I have noticed over the years, I could have got this wrong, and please tell me if I've got it wrong, but it does seem like the horror and the supernatural genre of films, pretty much when it comes to stuff like the Oscars and that, and they like to stroke their own egos, they always seem to get left behind, and there's some absolutely amazing films, whether they're character driven or, you know, massive special effects blockbusters. But the horror stuff always seems to get left behind, and a lot of it's so good. Like I say, I enjoyed The Evil Down the Street loads, and just because it was kind of like made me understand about like my next door neighbour or the person across the street. Yeah, that's how it seems. It seems that it's either the greatest art film or something else. Do you guys feel like that? I mean, I'm guessing you probably don't. You're not that bothered about the accolades, but you know, do you feel in general that sometimes you don't get?
No, regardless of how I feel about the accolades, your observations, I think, are well stated, and just simply put, they're scared of him.
Well,
The Exorcist should have been nominated.
Yeah.
it wasn't. Yeah, it's a very famous.
Incredible acting.
Yeah.
Incredible storyline. Special effects for the time were off the hook.
Okay. Yeah.
But
It must have been so intense to film.
Yeah.
oh, incredible! But see, that's an admission. If they do that, and that's a floodgate. Alien, great movie when I first saw that movie. The Haunting.
Wow.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Now, on the other hand, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, no. And I liked the movie. I thought it was a scary movie, but it was based on reality, and it didn't have that same creativity. All they took was what was really happening, and they turned it into a film.
Yeah.
The Last House on the Left, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Haunting. That was an incredible film. You know, so we could go on and on and on.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, I think the horror genre is one of the best genres out there because it does cover a wide spectrum of issues.
Yeah.
Everything from the supernatural to the immediate right now.
Yeah.
You know, so it's, to me, I think they're disrespected, but think about this. They are the most lucrative.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because fans just want a good movie. They don't care who made it. They don't care who's in it. Famous or non-famous, which is why we get our movies seen.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, they're just an incredible fan base.
That's why you shouldn't listen to critics. You should make your own mind up by watching these things or reading these books or whatever. Because critics get paid to be critics, and sometimes they're paid to be, I don't know, either follow sort of the mainstream and dislike something, or they'll be out of the norm and dislike maybe or like something that nobody else likes. Or do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I've never understood how somebody can. I mean, they can be interesting to watch for a bit of a laugh, but I don't understand how somebody else can go, "Oh, I didn't watch that because my best friend told me it was crap." Really? Right. Be your best, that's just, it's nothing. You need to experience these things yourself, and I'm glad they are. Because look at, when you was listing them films, I was actually going to list Halloween, that was made on a shoestring budget, an amazing film, ended up taking billions over the years, and it's just and the simple story as well of one of those scary things of just the bloke who, or the figure that, you know, you think you see in the night and stuff that turns out to be real and starts murdering your best friends. Simple, absolutely simple and stuff. But I suppose it can be annoying for some people and that. I just wondered how you felt about the accolades and the this, that, and the other and stuff. I mean, I'm sure deep down you don't seem like guys that miss an Oscar on your shelf or whatever. As long as people,
if you're doing this work for accolades, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I would say something like that. Yeah, no, it's nice to know because it makes me feel like you'll always make. Because before you came back on, Craig was saying about the like comedy and stuff, trying something maybe different that you've not done and things and stuff, which I think is a great idea because it's nice to see that you'll not follow. Well, looking at that, looking back over your films and stuff. You've not followed a particular trend. I know the horror stuff, but even then, it seems to be, it's different. It's never the same.
It's like zombie films or chop films. You've seen one, you've seen them all.
Yeah.
That's just the end of that. And no offense to anybody who's into that or who makes those.
Yeah.
That's not my point. My point, it's like watching Marvel superhero movies. If you've seen one, you've seen them all.
Yeah, because you know what's going to
And
happen.
why repeat that?
Yeah.
You know, originality is so important for me and Craig. That's why I love The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and how many movies have since tried to, recreate that whole feeling? What's his name? Yeah, the chocolate factory.
Create step by step. You know what I mean? There's never been one that's been able to create it in the way that Wizard of Oz was created in the first place. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Exactly.
it's an awesome movie. It brings us back to when I was a child, and like my parents put it on in front of me, and now my kids watch it. You know what I mean? And it's just like it's become like a tradition sort of thing within the family to
Right.
watch. It's a good movie.
Especially at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Weirdly for me, I'm the opposite way around, but not in a particular to be funny, but mine would always be something like John Carpenter's The Thing, where it's dead simplistic. And I mean, even now, it looks amazing. And
I love that movie.
It's just a simple premise of a bunch of people stuck, and the paranoia that is inherent in all of us. He just captured everything when he made that film, including the horror, but the special effects are great and everything. The acting's superb and stuff. And do you know what I mean? And it's so small compared to something like The Wizard of Oz, but so big because the intensity. I was going to say it's colourful in a different way, just a lot of blood and guts and stuff, and the famous spider head scene. But other than that, yeah, you get that kind of. I think everybody has those kind of films, where they. I don't know if it's something that's about them that makes it. And I mean, it's like The Wizard of Oz, and no matter how many times you copy it, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and it's like take a Western, for example. Mr. Cogburn, okay?
Great film.
The very first one with John Wayne.
Yeah,
it was entertaining.
Yeah.
It had great action.
Yeah.
The acting was good, and they remade it. Yeah, it was all right.
No.
It was all right on the remake. They followed it, and don't get me wrong, I love the actors who were in the remake, but come on, can you come up with something original already? Why are you doing the same stuff?
Yeah, I think. It's sort of Clint Eastwood. Back when he was, when he did the westerns and stuff, there was just a way he could carry something off, that dark sort of with his gravel sort of like, I was going to quote a different film and it wasn't a western, so I won't. But yeah, there was some. I suppose that's just the way, these actors sometimes they get a part, don't they? And they just fit it, or they just seem to fit it and make it their own, and that's always how it's going to be, and that's how we'll always remember them. So,
or they're getting a paycheck.
Yeah,
and they're promised another paycheck if they continue to do it.
Well,
motivator.
Yeah, Schwarzenegger a lot of money to come back to the Terminator franchise, and it was a ridiculous amount. And when he was interviewed, he said, "But why wouldn't you do that if somebody was going to offer you like 20 million?"
Something
exactly right.
You kidding?
No,
you hear the music. I'd be right there, man.
Yeah.
So as an actor, I'm trying to work.
Yeah.
So I'm auditioning. And my agent says, "Hey, I have this audition for you." Go, okay.
Yeah.
I just show up. And whatever it is, it is. What I know about the part is there's a paycheck.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's it. Because what people don't get is that this is our job.
Yeah.
This is what we do.
You might love what you do, but it's still you've got to be realistic. It's still a job at the end of the day. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes, definitely. I totally agree. I'm just wanting to say thank you very much for coming on tonight. I'm just going to bring it to an end, which hopefully once we can watch the next movie as well.
Yeah.
And then, we'll be able to come back on again if that's possible.
Yeah.
Sure.
Definitely.
I'm ready for you now. I got it down.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you very much for coming on tonight.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Martin, very much, Bob.
Thank you
to your audience. Thank you so much.
Yes.
You're welcome, my brother. Thank you very much. Just want to say thank you for joining the Power family as well. And us as Power family and being part of that community. It just helps. It just shows people that, you know, no matter where you are and what you do, we're all equal and we all support each other in the field. So,
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you very much.
Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.